It's KFYI. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Friday. Glad you're here. The nearly famous Barry Young Show. Joining us on the lines, ladies and gentlemen, from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast is United States Senator John McCain, America's senator. He's America's senator. Our senior senator from Arizona and the object of Corella Michelle Buffy Lee Larson's late-night meanderings. He is... Hey, you are right in the eye of the storm, John. Welcome back to the show, and thanks for coming on the air with us today.
Well, thanks, Barry. There's so many things going on that this is probably some of the most interesting times in the years I've been honored to serve, and probably never more dangerous. Domestically and national security wise.
Let me begin with that. Let's begin with that. You've said, and a lot of people are agreeing with you on this, because the tide is turning against the president and his handling of Afghanistan. We got some new poll numbers out today, and it doesn't look good the way he's fumbling around here. You said that basically, I'm putting words in your mouth here, but you basically said screwing up on this thing will be a mistake of historic proportions. How badly are we screwing up over here?
Well, the situation continues to deteriorate. And as Admiral Mullen, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said, that time is not on our side. Meanwhile, we are supposedly going through a review, and I understand the review has to be done, but the president announced the strategy last March. I still hope and pray and believe that he will do the right thing and agree with General McChrystal's recommendation, but I wish he would do it sooner rather than later.
Well, what do you think the holdup is?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's interesting to me that his national security advisor, General Jones, and others act like all options are the same. In other words, that we have to look at various options. Well, there's one option that's been recommended by your military commander that you fired his predecessor in order to put in, and General McChrystal and General Petraeus, who designed the successful surge in Iraq, and Admiral Mullen, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Don't you think that recommendation should have a little more weight than that of, say, David Obey or or Nancy Pelosi? So I wish he'd go ahead and make the right decision and make it soon. Meanwhile, our allies in the region are getting very nervous. You know, Barry, that we succeeded in helping the Afghans get rid of the Russians, the then Soviet Union, and then we left. We left completely, okay? There's great nervousness in the region, including the Pakistanis, that we would leave, and they have to remain and accommodate to Taliban, Al-Qaeda, etc.
This General McChrystal, have you had a chance to meet him, talk with him?
I know him quite well.
All right, he seems to be...
He was the head of the counterinsurgency special operations part of Iraq under General Petraeus.
Well, he seems to be shooting straight, and the president, his people picked, am I wrong, General McChrystal? This was their guy.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to accuse any president of having political influence in their decisions. But there is a reality, and that is the left base of his party is adamantly opposed to increasing the number of troops in Afghanistan. I mean, that's just a fact. And I have some sympathy for him in that area. But I think you know that history tells us that at times in American history, presidents have had to make tough decisions. One of my favorite examples was Harry Truman. When everybody wanted out of Korea, he stayed. He stayed, and we didn't lose that war. And if we had have, I think history might have been very different if we had lost the Korean War. That's and you can go all the way back to Abraham Lincoln, where his own cabinet was telling him to go ahead and negotiate with the Confederacy when things were not going well on the battlefield. There's always tough decisions made by presidents, and I hope this president will make the right decision.
I know our time this morning is short, so everybody has a million more questions we could deal with Afghanistan and the terrorists and all of that, but let me switch over very quickly to the what we'll call Obamacare, and everyone held the line except Olympia Snowe. Anyway, the bottom line here is there anything that we out here, the civilians, can do to stop this thing?
Well, we've done quite a bit so far, and I'm talking about tea parties. I'm talking about people who have gotten active politically, motivated by this issue, but also by out of control, outrageous, corrupt spending in Washington that I think has at least slowed down this train. But I've got to tell you, I've got to give you some straight talk, my friend. Elections have consequences. They have 60 votes in the Senate. And this bill is going to be written behind closed doors after it passes through the House and the Senate. And it's going to be an ugly result because you cannot expand government without increasing expenditures, and that means cost to the taxpayers. You cannot get around that fundamental fact, and this will be one of the greatest intrusions into the private sector by the federal government in history.
Harry Reid came out yesterday, and he was trying to explain why $54 billion is not a great deal of money, considering he's getting into tort reform and all. I don't know if he slipped up or not. He was speaking apparently extemporaneously, and he said, well, this thing is going to cost us $2 trillion. Now, the number was $829 billion. They were all happy that it was going to be under $1 trillion. Then he pulls $2 trillion out.
Well, also, could I just go back to this $54 billion? First of all, when is that? Only in this environment could we call $54 billion not much. But the fact is, it's closer to $200 billion because of the fact that defensive medicine that's practiced by doctors to avoid malpractice suits. Any physician. I would have a physician on your program. Have somebody from Mayo or Banner or Phoenix Children's Hospital or somebody on, and ask the doctor, say, how much do you think defensive medicine you practice because of your fear of finding yourself in court? And they'll tell you. They'll tell you they have to do it. And many doctors now are foregoing insurance because they can't afford the premium. Should we subject people who go in one of those honorable professions there is from the ability to insure themselves against finding themselves thrown into debt? I mean, so this whole look, the trial lawyers control, and we're not going to have malpractice reform, and it's a disgrace. It's an outrage.
If this thing, getting back to Barack's thing, if it gets passed.
But I didn't finish answering your questions. I urge our listeners to stay active. If you believe that we are a government by and for and of the people, then your voice needs to be heard. Yeah. Keep up the work.
All right, you're reading my mind. If they do push this through using the nuclear option or whatever they're going to do, and they get it through, usually you can't stop. You can't go back and undo these sorts of things. Is there any chance if it does get through, it can be undone?
There'd have to be a veritable peaceful revolution, but the beginnings of that, I think, are taking place already. But history shows us that once government moves into a certain area of our economy, that it's very, very rare, if ever, that it comes out. Look, I voted against the Medicare prescription drug program. Why? Do I think that seniors shouldn't have Medicare prescription drugs? Of course I do. But guess what? There was no way to pay for it. So now we've got another multi-trillion-dollar unfunded liability we're laying on future generations of Americans. Cash for clunkers. My God. And now we're going to have the, quote, doctor's fix, which is I've forgotten the number now, I think $247 billion that we are not going to impose reduced Medicare payments to doctors. That's fine, but where do you pay for it? In other words, now that's going to add another $247 billion to the cost of any health care reform we do. I mean, it's not believable what we're doing. Do you see where the president now wants to give every senior, even if it's Warren Buffett, a check for $250? That's, we want to do that? Again, Who pays for it? That's only $13 billion.
Listen, one quick question. We're running out of time, and I know you got to get. I got one. I could ask. I got a million questions. One quick question.
Let me stay on for a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Please.
All right. All right. Here we go. The Washington Times has a story out today. Here's the headline: U.S. troop funds diverted to pet projects. It says senators diverted $2.6 billion in funds in defense spending bill to pet projects at the expense of the fuel. The money was set aside to pay for fuel, ammunition, and training. 778 such projects.
I had an amendment on the floor to restore that money, and they would, and it failed. We spent $2.7 billion on an airplane called the C-17 that the military neither needs nor wants. The Murtha side of the story is billions of dollars, billions of earmarks. There is corruption in Washington D.C., and we took the money from the operations and maintenance, which is any military person will tell you is what is the most vital part of maintaining our training, equipment, our ability to operate, and our ability to maintain our supremacy, and as our ability to field the most professional military in history. They took the money out of that for their pork barrel projects. It is corruption.
Listen to this: $25 million for a new World War II museum at the University of New Orleans. That's probably the most researched issue of the 20th century, but we got to get a new museum down there.
Listen, I'm going to send you a list of the projects that I've railed against on the floor. And also, they threw on the hate crimes bill, which has nothing to do with defense authorization. Now, they threw the hate crimes on the authorization. You're talking about the appropriations bill. But the fact is, to authorize all this stuff for the men and women in the military, they threw hate crimes on top of it, which had nothing to do with defending this nation.
Well, we all hate crimes.
Well, I mean, the fact is, it's one of the most poorly labeled bills in history, by the way. Yeah. But anyway, look, I'm going to send you a list of all of those, and I also pork barrel projects that were larded on the defense appropriations bill, and I do not use the word corruption lightly.
Yes. All right, sir. Listen, always come down. When you're here, drop in. You're always welcome.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you and Michelle, and thanks for all the great work you're doing, Barry.
Thank you, Senator.
Thanks, John.
For joining us up there in the belly of the beast, Senator John McCain, ladies and gentlemen. I like that. We've given him a new title, America's Senator.